Nobody expected him to start a train. Not after that game. Not in that dugout. Not with the kind of tension that had been sitting in the air for the better part of 9 innings, the specific, heavy silence that settles over a professional baseball team when the outcome has been decided and the mood inside the dugout is somewhere between exhausted and unresolved. These are not the moments when superstars start games. These are the moments when superstars put their heads down. When they disappear into their phones or their headphones or the quiet corner of the clubhouse where nobody asks anything of them. When the social contract of a professional locker room allows even the most visible person in the room to simply not be available for a while. Shohei Ohtani did not do that. He looked around the dugout. He found Yoshinobu Yamamoto first. Said something. Made a gesture with his hand, the universal shape of rock paper scissors, unmistakable in any language, on any continent, in any sport. And within 60 seconds, what had been a silent, tense dugout was a train. Player after player. Shoulder to shoulder. The rhythm of the game moving down the line like something that had been waiting all along for permission to exist. Laughter arriving not gradually but suddenly, the way it does when someone removes the thing that was holding it back. Ohtani was at the front. He is always, somehow, at the front. Leadership in professional sports is one of the most discussed and least understood concepts in the game. Everyone agrees it matters. Everyone agrees that the teams which go deepest in October tend to have it in a form that statistics cannot capture. But when you ask people to define it precisely, to point at a specific behavior and say that is what leadership looks like, the answers tend to sprawl. They reference intensity and accountability and communication and the ability to perform under pressure, which are all real things but which describe an idea rather than a moment. The rock-paper-scissors train is a moment. And what it reveals about Ohtani's leadership is something that does not fit neatly into the conventional vocabulary of what a franchise player is supposed to do. He did not call a team meeting. He did not give a speech. He did not pull Yamamoto aside for a serious conversation about staying focused or processing the game and moving forward. He did not perform the role of the grizzled veteran absorbing the loss with visible, teachable stoicism. He started a game. A children's game. A silly, structureless, joyful thing that requires nothing from the participants except a willingness to extend a hand and play along. And in doing so, he did something that no speech and no meeting and no visible act of competitive seriousness could have done in that moment. He gave everyone in that dugout permission to exhale. Yamamoto was the first one in. That detail matters. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is not a man who performs looseness easily. He carries the particular weight of someone for whom excellence is not an aspiration but a baseline, someone who has competed at the highest levels of Japanese baseball for long enough that the pressure of expectation has become the air he breathes rather than something he feels separately from it. He is also, by most accounts from inside the Dodgers clubhouse, someone who is still finding his full comfort inside the social landscape of an American roster. The language differences. The cultural rhythms. The way humor works between teammates who have grown up with entirely different reference points for what is funny and what is serious and what falls in between. When Ohtani turned to him first, he was not making a random choice. He was making a specific one. He chose the person in the dugout who most needed to be chosen. The person who, if he stepped into the game, would signal to everyone else that the game was safe to join. Because if Yamamoto, precise, serious, carrying the full visible weight of his role on this roster, was willing to put his hand out and play rock-paper-scissors in a dugout after a game, then the invitation was genuinely open. Yamamoto played. And the train began. There is something worth understanding about the specific dynamic between Ohtani and Yamamoto that exists beyond what the statistics describe. They are, in the most obvious sense, countrymen. Two Japanese players on the same American roster, sharing a cultural and linguistic context that nobody else in the clubhouse fully inhabits. That alone creates a particular gravity between them, a shorthand that does not need to be explained, a set of shared references that functions as its own private language inside the larger language of the team. But what makes their dynamic genuinely interesting is that they are not the same kind of player. Ohtani has been in America long enough, and has succeeded publicly enough, that his comfort inside the social architecture of a major league clubhouse has become one of his quiet strengths. He knows how to move through a room of 30 people with 30 different personalities. He knows when to be loud and when to disappear. He knows how humor works between men who are competing for their professional lives and need occasional relief from that weight. Yamamoto is still learning that terrain. And Ohtani, by turning to him first in that dugout, was not just starting a game. He was doing something more deliberate than that. He was telling Yamamoto, "You belong here, in this moment, in this silliness, in this exhale. You are not too serious for this. This team is not too serious for this. Come." Yamamoto came. The train moved down the line. This is the part that gets described differently depending on who you ask. Some people say it built slowly, one player, then another, a pause, then two more joining, the laughter arriving in waves. Others say it happened faster than that, the domino effect of someone choosing to be light spreading through the dugout like something that had been under pressure and was suddenly released. What everyone agrees on is the sound. Dugouts after close games, especially games where the outcome lands in the complicated space between acceptable and disappointing, tend to produce a specific kind of quiet. Not silence exactly. The sounds are there, cleats on concrete, the distant noise of the stadium emptying, equipment being packed away. But underneath all of it is a flatness. An absence of the thing that makes a group of people feel like a group rather than a collection of individuals sitting in proximity. The rock-paper-scissors train removed the flatness. Not permanently. Not in a way that resolved the game or changed what the scoreboard said. But in the way that matters most inside a long season, the reminder that the people in this dugout are not just colleagues in a professional enterprise. They are, when the conditions allow it, something closer than that. And Ohtani had created the conditions. The footage, when it circulated, did what footage of genuine moments always does. It spread faster than anything the Dodgers marketing department could have manufactured. It spread because it could not have been manufactured, because the specific quality of spontaneity that made it worth watching is precisely the quality that disappears the moment a camera is positioned for it deliberately. People watched Ohtani start the train. They watched Yamamoto join. They watched the line extend, player after player, the laughter building into something that filled the frame and kept going past its edges. And the reaction, almost universally, was some version of the same thing. This is why this team is different. Not because of the payroll. Not because of the analytics infrastructure or the depth of the roster or the competitive advantages that a large market franchise accumulates over time. Those things are real. Those things matter. But they do not explain what happens in a dugout when the game is over and the cameras are still rolling and someone decides, freely, without instruction, without agenda, to start a rock-paper-scissors train. That is a culture. And cultures are built by specific people making specific choices in specific moments. This one was built, at least in part, by the man at the front of the line. Dave Roberts, when asked about it the following day, did not give a long answer. He watched the question arrive. He let a small smile form before he said anything. The smile of someone who had seen the footage and had felt, privately, exactly what everyone else had felt watching it. He said, "That's Shohei. That's who he is when the game is over. He cares about winning more than anyone I've managed. And he also understands that the people who play beside him need to be okay. He pays attention to that." He paused. He added, "You can't fake what you saw in that dugout. That's not a leadership exercise. That's just him knowing his teammates." He left it there. It was enough. Ohtani will be spoken about for the rest of this season, and the next, and the ones after that, in terms of what he does between the lines. The home runs. The pitching outings. The moments where his ability separates itself so completely from what anyone else in the sport is doing that comparison becomes almost beside the point. Those conversations are inevitable. They are also, in their own way, incomplete. Because what happened in that dugout, the train, the laughter, Yamamoto's hand extending into the game, the flatness lifting from a room full of professionals who needed a moment to simply be human together, that is also Ohtani. That is the part of him that the box score has no column for. The part that turns to the person who most needs to be included and includes them first. The part that reads a room full of tension and responds not with seriousness but with a children's game played with full commitment. The part that understands, at some level that has nothing to do with strategy, that a team which can laugh together after a hard game is a team that will fight together when the hard games matter most. Leadership does not always look like a speech. Sometimes it looks like a train. Ohtani started it.